Hey, it's Tom, and today I will show you how to quickly scrape data from static website, which is CraigsList. So I needed some data for my future videos, so I had to scrape that, and I thought it might be interesting for you to know how we can do this using Python. Okay, so at first let's find a website we want to scrape, and in our case it's the CraigsList. I selected the San Francisco Bay Area and Tesla cars because that's something that's interesting also for me. And when we start with some website, in this case there's a list of elements on this website. It's really important to find out what's the structure of the web page. And to find out, we can use inspect. And as always, using inspect is a good way to find the objects. And this is one particular result row. Okay. So it looks like the structure of CraigsList is pretty easy to scrape and to parse. So the element that's interesting for us, I don't know if I can increase the size. Oh yeah, sorry, I didn't do that. I didn't do that previously. So the object that's really interesting for us is this UL with the class rows, and there is a long list of all elements that are the offers that are interesting for us, and each offer is wrapped into this li object with result dash row class, and there's a lot of data that's inside of that. Okay, so maybe let's start with parsing that. To do this today, we will use the Jupyter Notebook because that's the easiest way to play and pause the Python code, at least in my opinion. So at first we will need to import the requests, and requests is a like state-of-the-art library in Python world that you are using to make HTTP requests. And the second thing we will need is the Beautiful Soup. Beautiful Soup is a well-known library that enables us to parse the XML and HTML objects. And in our case, we will get the content of the website and we will have to parse that and play with it. So we definitely need to import that. Beautiful Soup. Okay. And then it's worth to define some URL that we want to scrape, and in our case it will be this. So okay, and we just have to fetch the content. So in our case, let's fetch it to the page object and requests get URL. Yeah, that's it in general. We can run the code, and our page object already contains the HTML data. We can page content. We can print it out, and as you see, it's a huge chunk of code, and it's not useful for us at this point. But right now we will use the Beautiful Soup to parse this whole object into some readable structured data. So let's call it maybe soup. That will be the object equals. And then we have to provide two parameters. The first one is the data that we want to parse, and the second is the parser, HTML parser. So this is one of the 4 possible parsers for HTML code, and it's the fastest probably and the easiest to use, like the one that's really default. Okay, so we created our soup, and our soup is just structured data that was fetched from the CraigsList, and then we can create results object. And right now we'll use soup to find objects, like one object to be honest, with class rows, because we want to get the whole list into this object, and that's equals rows. Okay, and we can print that. Results prettify. Okay, so as you see, we have the whole content that's included in this tag, the UL with class rows. This is exactly the same content that we were able to find using the website inspector. And right now, what's interesting for us is to get all objects with the result-row class name, and then we will be able to play with them a little bit more. So in the next step, let me scroll my notes, because I also, as always, I prepared notes for myself to not lose your time debugging. So what we right now need is to get the car elements. Yeah, we can call it right like this. And within results, we'll now work on results. So we will just work on this content, because we don't really need to parse the whole website once again. We have the part that's interesting for us, and we want to get some data from this particular part. Find all objects of the class li with the class equals result-row. Okay. Yeah, we can then print that, or if we know that this will be an array, we can just iterate. So for car lm in car elements doesn't sound really good. We can just print that. For example, just the text, and yeah, that looks much better. Okay, so each car element is exactly this data, and for us the important things is definitely the price, maybe. The URL that will be used later on to get the details of this particular offer, and maybe some name. Yeah, so probably, let me check. This will be interesting for us. So okay, maybe let's start with the price, because that will be the easiest one. So the price will be, to find the price, we have to get the object, which is the span, with the class name result price. Okay, so let me maybe copy just the code that I prepared to save some time. You can just comment that out. And the price element is the element of the span tag with class name result price, and that's the price element. And right now we can print price element text. we can strip that, but there's probably nothing wrong with that. Okay, yeah, it looks like, yeah, we can also print empty line to just separate them in a better way. Okay, so it looks like we are able to fetch the prices. They all contain the dollar sign. We can cut it later on, but if you would like to fetch data from different countries, maybe the currency might be important for us. The next element that's interesting for us is the URL, and it looks like that if we want to get the URL, we just need to get the a element with the class name result image gallery, and of course I have prepared that. Oh, it turns out that I found out that there is an easier way to do this. So because that's leading probably to the gallery. No, it's the same. So either we can get the a element with the class name result image gallery and then get the href. Yeah, we can actually do this. So maybe, yeah, some short live coding. So HTML, so URL maybe. URL will be car lm find element with the of type A, and class equals to result image gallery. Okay. Oh, okay. I have to change that. And yeah, so URL element, and let's print the URL lm. And to be honest, we need just the href parameter, not the text, because the text is probably some link. Okay, so we have the URL element, and let me check if this will work. I hope that can, okay, that can make things a little bit easier. And the last thing we need is the title, and the title is somewhere here in the result info. Okay, it's in the result info, and it's exactly here. So we just need the a element with the a class that's result dash title hdr link, some kind. Okay, so let me copy maybe that from my prepared code, and the title element is just an element of type A, and with the class name result title hdr link. So right now we can, and we need text. We can strip it. Oh, okay. Looks like we have a long list from at first the first page of the offers, and if you want to get the data from all pages, you can just execute this code in a loop, and every time the loop will go to the another round, you will just have to add some parameter at the end, like let me scroll to the bottom, because that's the page first, and yeah, so there's probably the start number. They are ordered starting with 0, so 120, 240, and so on until you will get the 1423. Okay, so we are here, and right now what's interesting, at least for me, is the details about this car. So to get the details about the particular offer, we need to go to the URL that we were able to find, fetch the content once again, and parse it once again. So this is exactly what we are going to do right now. And so we can check, for example, if you would like to get the details at once, you have to make a loop in a loop. So for each found element, you would have to create another loop. And so for each element of this loop, you would have to request a new page, open the URL, and get the data. But right now, we don't want to get all this data at once. I just want to show you how to get also the data from the details page. And in this case, yeah, we can close it right now, because the data we will need is some attributes and the description, because description might contain some important keywords like scratches and other that will be needed later on. Okay, so in the next step, we just have to parse the content once again. So maybe let's this is the code I prepared, maybe just to replace the URL with the one that I have here, so we are all on the same page. Okay, so we do the same that we have done before. We define the URL, we request the data, and then we create beautiful soup to parse the data using HTML parser. Okay, we can execute this code, and right now we have to inspect the page to be able to find out what's really interesting for us. And yeah, so those elements are definitely important for us. So there's those paragraphs with the attribute group. It's a shortcut probably. And this one contains a lot of spans, which is okay. We can parse that. So what's interesting for us are the attributes for sure. And to get the attributes, we have to find all elements of type paragraph with class name attribute group, like here, right? There are only 2 elements, but we just want to find all of them, and that's something that interesting for us. Okay, we can execute it, and attributes right now contains all those objects, and there are sorry. So there are 2 groups of those attributes, and each of them contains some data that might be interesting for us. So we have to work on each of them. So because of that, we can use a loop in attributes. And for each attribute, we will just want to get all those spans that are included here, because all interesting data is, to be honest, put into the spans. So we have spans and attribute find all object of type span. Okay, and because there are many spans, then we just need once again to create a loop to go through all of them and to parse the data that's inside. So for span in spans, sorry, we have each span, and the interesting thing for us is to get the text that's included between the span. So the text equals span text, and we can strip it because there are new lines, some spaces probably. Yeah, let's try. Okay, looks like it's working pretty fine. For the first one, there is no separator found here, and for others we can find a separator, and we can just split them to create an array. and the array will contain the key and the value, because we can think about that like about a dictionary with the key and values. The key is always first and the value is always second. So yeah, we can either split that or just leave it as it is. And the second thing that's important for us is definitely the description. This is something that we also want to know, and luckily it looks like, yeah, it's pretty easy to find it out, because that's a section with ID equal to posting body. And right now we will just need to get this object from our soup. So let me just copy the code. And the differences between the objects that have easy to find out classes and other attributes is that if you want to get the object with particular class, you use class underscore. And if you want to get object by, for example, ID or any other attribute, you just have to provide a dictionary as a second parameter to CarSoup. And there you provide the name of the attribute and the value that you are looking for. So in our case, yeah, it looks like we got the text, and yeah, it looks like we are able right now to get the all interesting data for us from the CraigsList. And right now I will just have to run it multiple times, get this data to, like, I don't know, maybe MongoDB, because creating this structure in SQLite might be hard, because as far as I noticed, the number of attributes is not constant, and there are some attributes with random name, like maybe not this, because this has the traditional, but there are some offers that have some attributes that don't have key and value, and they are just different, named in a different way. So no SQL database might be a good choice. Anyway, that's all I prepared for you today. Of course, the source code will be linked down below in the description. If you like this video, let me know down in the comments section if you would like to see more of them. And thank you for your time. Thank you for watching, and see you next time. Bye.